It's esports season, baby. As you guys may know, PGL Major Antwerp is coming up. Challenger stage is starting tomorrow for Counter-Strike Global Offensive. We're covering some CS:GO today. Starts in about 9 hours from now, from the time of recording. And I'll be covering each team that's in the Challenger stage and telling you which ones I think are going to get through. And then I'll also go over the day one matchups too, just to give you guys a little extra content. All right, let's start with ENTS, which is the top ranked team in the Challenger stage. I believe they're 4th in the world right now, which is kind of crazy. ENTS is a good team. They'll be making it through pretty easily. You know what? I could see them going down 2-2, but I don't think that they will. They're not my 3-0 team. There's a little pick'em in the CS:GO client where you pick your 3-0 team, and I have G2 for that. But we'll get to them later. ENTS is a good team. I think Spinks is a great budding star. He's super consistent. They're a super high fragging lineup. I think Diha has his days where he's insane, popping 20 kills a game. Hades has been coming into his own. That's what everybody expected of him. I think Madden is a great supporting rifle who, like, even in their bad games, shows up surprisingly. I hadn't heard of him before. I would say like maybe 6 months ago, but he's been, or I had, but he just wasn't like on the scene as a significant role player, you know. And then Snappy, you gotta love Snappy. High fragging, IGL, super smart guy. Just really rounds out this team really well. So it's gonna be. I think I'll send them through 3-1. And you know they'll probably win their first game. I'll get back to you on that later though. Next up we have G2. G2 is G2. They have Nico. They have Hunter. They have Monesi. Alexi B is an incredible mind as the IGL. Also a great fragger, a great fragging IGL. And Jax is Jax, you know? Like, the French teams always have to have that one guy who's, you know, he's a support player, but really they just, like, cycle the same 15 players through the French scene, so he's just there. He's like, I don't want to say that I'll upset some people. I was going to say he's like Kiyoshima, but Kiyoshima was good before, kind of. Yeah, so G2's going to make it through. They're my 3-0 team. They're definitely going to win tomorrow. Actually, this is the one game where I could see them losing. I think it's a tough matchup for them. But I think they'll squeeze through. I think they'll be fine. And I think they'll be 3-0. I've been liking them a lot recently. I think that they're hyped up for this major. Next up, we have Outsiders, formerly Virtus Pro. I love this team. Like, I've always been a fan ever since it was the Virtus Pro with Snacks and Neo and Pasha and Taz and Bialy. But they're a completely different team now, so I don't know why I brought them up. But Virtus Pro just kind of has this, like, CIS grindy style where they'll wait till 15 seconds and then just flop onto your site. Super consistent. They do a lot of saves, you know. Jame time, big thing. I would say that he's their star right now. Yekendar's not playing super great, but Flit's been playing well, and Kickert and Buster are just solid pieces. They have solid maps. They play close to everybody. It's kind of to their detriment sometimes. They play up and down, but they're really like the benchmark team right now with the slow, controlled tactics, and that's their brand of Counter-Strike, and it works. I have them going through like 3-1. Almost picked them to go 3-2 in the Swiss format, but I didn't quite get around to it. But I love this team. I think they'll make it through to the major stage, and I think that they will do well in the major stage. Next up, we have Astralis. Astralis is a wild card. They're coming up with this new young core. I guess not young, but they have a new core. They have Blame F. They have Config, the two stars, the two Danish stars coming in different sides of the equation. Config is the entry fragger. He's high volume. He's racking up the most deaths in the game, but also the most kills sometimes. And he's just that guy you want entering your site. Blame F, on the other hand, usually the least amount of deaths in the game, and he's more of a controlled, think like Crims type of player. He's a very high value support rifle. And then you have good old faithful ZipX. The train's coming. I wonder if it'll be nice to me. Yeah, no, it's gone. Next we have ZipX, old faithful. Been struggling. He's one of my favorite players, though. Such a good brain, such a good mind for the game. But unfortunately, he hasn't been playing well. They brought in Farlig, who is amazing young talent. I think he's a little green still. I think he needs a little more time. I think this Astralis roster isn't completely gelled yet, but just the skill that they have on their team, wow! Like it's top notch. I could see them, and I do see them. I'm making it through the first stage. I don't know if they will make a splash in the actual major, but I have them making it through. I'm gonna say 3-2. They're gonna be there. They're gonna be there on the last day. They're gonna be there on day 5. Just really grinded it out against one of those other teams. Next up, we have. Oh, I didn't even talk about Glaive. Glaive, in-game leader, super smart, plays with lots of emotion. He always pops off, and just a high fragging in-game leader. I feel like all the in-game leaders so far that I've mentioned are high fragging. Yeah, we've had Snappy and Alexi B. Yeah, I mean, these are the top teams too, so these are the guys that are going to be fragging non-stop. Everybody on their team's good. Next up, we have Vitality, which honestly surprised to see them ranked so lowly. I would bet that a big reason for that is the language gap. They brought in 2 Danes. They brought in Magisk Boy, or Magis now, I guess, and Dupree into the all-French lineup, which is something that the French do not usually do. They have a lot of talent on this team, though. Zaiwu is great. He's world #1 last year. Apex, Old Faithful, great entry fragger, transition to in-game leader. He's the emotion of that team. Him and Dupree are both such emotional guys. I kind of worry about this team making it through just because of that emotion dropping whenever they do bad, and they will do bad. I believe this team will make it through 3-2. I think they'll struggle with the teams that they're supposed to struggle against, and they'll beat the teams that they're supposed to beat. Other than that, they have Masuda, who I'm not convinced about. Magisk has been playing pretty well recently, but also he's had his times where he'll drop just like 9 frags in a game. Not convinced. But this Vitality team should make it through. Next up, we have Liquid. Liquid is my bubble team, like right there on the bubble. Shocks, Nitro, Nath, Elysia, and OC. This is a very interesting team. They have a crazy core that's been around in Liquid forever. I know Nitro just came back in this past year, but him and Elysia are one of the best duos of all time in Counter-Strike history. In American Counter-Strike history, they're probably the best duo of all time. Either them or Stewie and Automatic. Shocks, of course, you got Shocks. Is one of the most legendary players in Counter-Strike history. You have Nath, who's probably the most consistent American, well, I guess he's Canadian, North American player ever, if I'd have to say. And then OC, who's a young talent. I know he's been around in the scene for a while, but not on a tier 1 team. Pretty quick. He's really fast opper. I worry about, I have it written down right here, the American mindset, which is when you're winning, you keep winning and keep winning and keep winning, but when you're losing, you start arguing and fighting and you start breaking apart. I'm super worried about them. I do have Liquid going through 3-2. They're going to be there on that last day, for sure. And I think they make it through. Next up, we have Complexity. JT, Floppy, Grim, Junior, and Fang. You know, this team has some good stars. It has, I like Junior a lot. I like Floppy as far as that goes. Grim was on, I believe it was Liquid, either Liquid or Cloud9 for a while. He's a really good, on a T2 team, he's a really good support rifle. And then Fang, I also think, has a good, nice young career, a good upstart. This team needs more time, man. This complexity roster isn't ready. I think that they'll go out 1-3, possibly 2-3. They might make it to the last day, but I don't have high hopes for these guys at all. I just, it's their first major. I don't think they're ready. Let's keep moving to a roster that I do think is ready. Fours. You have Jerry, you have Zordy, you have Shalfie, Kenzie, and Norvi. Oh my god. This roster is full of killers. Jerry, one of my favorite IGLs. I'm probably going to have to do a part 2 for this video. Yeah. Jerry, one of my favorite IGLs. He has strategies that will throw you off. They'll be there before you expect it. And you know who's leading that charge? Jerry's leading that charge. Jerry's entry fragging on his own team, IGLing the whole thing, and he's up mid and through connector before the rounds even started somehow. You don't even know how. And he's gotten 2 kills, opened up the entire site for his team. You don't expect it. He's great. Zordy on the op has been crazy recently in these past months. I would say 4 or 5 months. He's been in great form. I think Shalfie, Kenzie, and Norvi all are really decent riflers. The thing about them is they're kind of inconsistent. They're not always firing all at the same time. I think this roster could have a similar come up to that old Avantgarde, that Virtus Pro roster. Avantgarde. Pretty sure they're the same roster, but with Jame and Yekindar, who weren't relevant 5 years ago, that just come up onto the scene all together, all at once, and then break into that tier 1 of Counter-Strike like that. Same thing with Furia, just a good, grounded, fully rounded team with good leadership, almost like when Luminosity came up and turned into SK Gaming, that Fallen squad. They're just the Brazilian powerhouse. Just come up all at one time onto the scene and make a splash. Almost, if you think about it, like the Golden State Warriors did. Just homegrown. That's basketball for you guys who don't know. I like these guys to get through. I'm going to say 3-1. I don't think they'll have to exhaust that. I don't think they'll have to exhaust that 5th day. I think they are a good enough roster with good enough leadership to make it through on day 4. I'm not gonna say day 3 or match 3, because I don't believe in them that much. There's a lot of killers in this bracket, but you know what? This is a good place to stop. I'm gonna get started on the second video immediately, so I can upload them at the same time. I will catch you guys in a couple seconds for me, maybe in about 10 minutes for you guys.